Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Best Picture Podcast with myself, Brian SCOLARO, and TJ Miller.
The one and only. And we wanted to do this because Brian has a love for film and a knowledge about film that is more penetrating than anyone I know. And so I'd not rather do it with anybody else. So thank you, Brian.
Hey, no, thank you. No, listen, you were rattling off films that I never even heard of the last time we spoke. So I would say the same about you. You have an appreciation. When I used to do this podcast where I ask people about their favorite films, and they go, I liked Shawshank Redemption. I'm like, why? I don't know. Like, I want to hear the reasons why you liked it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, they go, I like Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, it's like, well, how many movies have you seen? That's your favorite film. Not putting that movie down, but yeah, you kind of, and also when somebody says Citizen Kane, that's because they kind of read it was the best movie, you know? And we've talked about this, but my favorite movie is my favorite movie, not only because it's a great movie, and not only because I could watch it over and over again, and not only because it's two of my favorite actors, but because primarily I think it's a perfect movie. In my opinion, it is the best picture. Right. And so The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman, Best Picture, 1973. I can watch it over and over. The score is perfect. The editing is flawless. Everything about it is just a perfect film.
Yeah, they did one of the Best Picture. I watched the scene. It's I love anything with fucking Robert Shaw. I love Robert Shaw.
Yeah, he's so great.
You know, he's believable in everything he does, and it looks like he looks really mad in that fucking movie. He looks mad. Like, you do not want to fuck with him in that movie. Like, a performance.
Yeah. And then I've seen him in other stuff that I need to watch more of his catalog. I've seen other stuff, and he's so different. So he's a bit of a chameleon, also. You know, with regards to that.
I like him in one of my favorite movies. I think it's the most New York movie ever made. That's pretty impressive to say that alone. How many movies are in New York? But I would say this movie is the most New York movie ever made. The original, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes, that's interesting that you would say that. And then Tony Scott redid that, and I watched both those movies in preparation for the train movie I was in, Unstoppable. And you know, it just was so incredible, kind of the tension that's built, the fact that it's in. And why do you say it's the most New York? Is it because it's in the subway system?
Well, first of all, it's in the subway system, but you also have the hero is an old Jewish man, which is New York. It's not Denzel Washington. It's Walter Matthau. He's the hero. He's an old Jewish man.
Right.
And then you have all these New York characters are real New York. The black subway cop who's in the subway, and he's like, make sure they know I'm down here because I'm real hard to see in the dark.
Yeah.
Then you have the Jewish guy who runs the subways. Go sue! Go sue! Yeah, give me back my train. Like, he's so New York. The two Italian cops who have to transfer the money, and they're like you do it. I'm not doing it. You do it. And they crash the car. Everybody is very New York. The people on the train. The fact that
you're right.
The Puerto Rican woman's asleep. She's asleep the whole time. The drunk woman's asleep the whole time. It's very New York.
Yeah, you bring up that it really captures that time in New York also. Now I wanted to ask you this because I don't usually get to, or rather I don't think I have. Do you, like, let's say Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. Have you seen that more than once?
Yeah, dozens of times. So
that's interesting to me too. So how much time do you spend watching films?
Well, I don't know how much time, but I have an incredible collection behind me and over there and over there. Like, when it comes to really good movies, a comedy, I could watch Ghostbusters right now if it was on. And I've probably seen that movie more than any other movie.
Do you watch cable? I mean, are you a guy who puts on the television and watches whatever movie's on? I watched
Abbott Costello Meet the Mummy last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like I watch movies. The Banshees of Inisherin, I loved. And I'll get defensive when people tell me, worst movie ever made. I go, why? And then they try to explain to me, no Irish man would cut off his fingers Yeah, that's why the movie's interesting, because nobody does that. So it's like you're taking this too personally. It's a beautiful movie. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it, but now it's ruined for me.
that's I don't want, it's just that he's a dumb animal. So there's only in the whole movie, there's all these animals in the movie, and he lets them in the house. And they don't really understand why he's doing that. But then when something happens to him and his innocence dies, he doesn't let the animals in the house anymore. And it's because that's a representation of him, that the innocence in him is killed. So he doesn't get along with the. It's just so subtle. It's like a movie. It's like a book. I love that kind of shit. Anyway, so
no, I'm a huge fan. Yeah, a huge fan of kind of films like that. I mean, what would be your number two? I almost, and again, you can tell now the genre that I like, but I almost feel like Road to Perdition is my second favorite film.
When I think of Road to Perdition, I think of the scene with the teletype. When the guy's in the other room, the teletype sounds like gunshots and is creating this tension, and it's just so well done. Where he accidentally kills the guy in the other room because the teletype sounds like gunshots. It just built, and Paul Newman is terrific. You know,
and he's so good. I mean, he's the consummate movie star, but I think, yeah, him and Robert Redford are just beyond.
Yeah, this thing is great. I would say, answer your question. I spend a lot of time watching movies. I can watch a drama. If I see a drama that blows me away, I'll watch it again twice. Roger Ebert, who I think was the best, would watch a movie twice. Once to enjoy it or not enjoy it, and then twice to see why he enjoyed it or why he didn't enjoy it. See,
I love that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I do. If I don't like it, I won't watch it again. You know, but it's when it comes to comedies, I feel like you can watch more and more. And what bothers me about the Oscars is how many comedies don't get recognized. When I think they're a lot harder, as you know. Comedies are a lot harder to do.
And we have to talk about this, but in the Golden Globes, there's, best comedy, best drama. And I understand that the Academy kind of wants to make it a best, it's just the best picture.
Yeah.
So if it is a comedy like The Apartment or obviously Annie Hall, and it's better than the other pictures, then that's best picture. Yeah. But just because something doesn't have pathos or pathos or ethos or off, it doesn't mean that it's not every bit as powerful.
I agree. I still think Fish Call Wanda might be one of the best movies ever made, and I do think Jamie Lee Curtis should have won the Oscar for that, as opposed to this other movie, because she basically plays 5 characters in that movie. The person she is with Kevin Kline is not the person she is with John Cleese, and the person she is with John Cleese when John Cleese knows who she is different. The person she is with she's different in every scene. And she is the movie. And the fact that Kevin Kline got nominated and she didn't win, that's the whole thing about comedies that bothers me. Like when I was looking at this list, you have It Happened One Night, you have Annie Hall, and you have The Apartment, and then it just stops. Comedies just stop winning Best Picture.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate.
Question for you, because it's so timely. What do we think of Everything Everywhere All at Once in terms of it being a comedy? How would you even describe that film?
I read a review of it that nailed it for me. A lot of people love that movie, and if you don't like the movie, they think you're just being afraid of the change of times. To me, what my opinion is, it's not that. The movie is, I had to shut it off after an hour. And then when it won, I went back and looked at the rest of it. And I figured out where they were going with it. For it to win Best Picture, you had to have some kind of pathos where she realizes that her life now is important and the people in her life now are important, not in her other lives. Got that. I saw that coming. But the first hour is just, look what we can do. Look what we can do. Look what we can do. Look how clever we are. Now she's killing people with dildos and anal plugs. All right, now it was just like, and it was moving so fast, and it was moving so fast. There was no time for you to care about the characters.
No.
So that's what that's why a lot of people shut it off after a half hour, an hour. I did too. I was like, I don't care about anybody, and I don't know what's happening. You need to explain to me how you're able to get inside the other person's body. Explain that. It can't be done in 3 seconds, like really quickly in a hallway. Like I needed more explanation for me to immerse myself in this. But I understand I understand what the ending is, what makes the movie.
Yeah, that's what got people there for sure. Yeah. It's a pretty out there movie.
I just felt it was rushed for me. I wanted to understand more, and I also didn't care about anybody because it kept moving so fast.
Kate said she's talked to a few people that said that they had to watch it in 2 parts.
Yeah,
but I really liked it. I thought it was really emotionally. I thought it was really funny.
I like Ke Huy Quan. I've always liked him. I wanted Barry Keoghan to win in Banshees of Inisherin because I always feel when somebody plays somebody disturbed, the first thing they do is they move their arms and their head around, so you can't really look at the person. But Barry, this kid, kept his head still, and you could see the damage in his eyes. And he would just look at the other actor and he'd just let it play. It's like, well, there goes that dream. And you can see that he's really damaged in this part.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that. I've never seen it. He let his eyes be seen. And that's very rare for an actor playing somebody who's damaged.
In film, and I'm sorry this seems to be the busiest day in the Miller household.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
I know, but yeah.
I like your house. You're in New York?
Leave it outside of the door, please. So yeah, so it's kind of like in film, what I was gonna say is that the absolute best thing you can do is the least. Yeah, you want to do almost nothing.
That's why I like Banshees. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why Ryan Gosling, who has little to no talent, is just really, really popular because he just doesn't do anything.
No, he doesn't.
And the reason people like that is that, sorry, I'm having a German breakfast. The reason that people like that is because they wouldn't have the confidence to do that. It takes a lot of confidence to do what you were saying, which is instead of being disturbed and be like this,
to actually do the work and let yourself be damaged.
Yeah.
My friend, David Krumholtz? He's a great actor.
He's great. Yeah,
he's a great actor. He just did a play, and it ran for like 3 months. It was a temporary play. And he said on Facebook, he goes, I definitely feel that this play is affecting me negatively. It's like I've always heard that when you do plays, you take the danger of inhabiting the part so much that it takes a hold of you. And he goes, now I feel like this character is a part of me, and it's disturbing me. And when I wrote that, I was like, interesting. I've never seen the play because I don't have any money. But I was like, that's really interesting to me. So what Barry Keoghan did in Banshees was allow himself to be damaged. It was like a 20-year-old kid doing something that most actors would never do. Like, they would just read the lines and just act a little fucked up. This guy let himself be fucking damaged. It's in his eyes. It's just fantastic. I wish I could talk about the movie with you. I don't want to ruin it.
Well, let's do it next time we do the podcast. I'll watch it. You know what? I'll watch it on the fucking plane going to Chicago.
It's worth it.
I'll make a note of it. This is how my neuropsychologist is always talking about how I had a brain injury, they like to say, not brain damaged. And one of the interesting things is that it makes sort of my ADHD kind of exacerbated.
Yeah, I'll say you
have to focus on it. I know.
Yeah. You've been out of the room more than you've been in the room.
That's right. But I'll watch Banshees, and
I think you're right.
There's a play I want to see with you, but we'll talk about this. We're on video right now.
Yeah.
So let's look into it. Let's get into it.
No, so the first thing I found really interesting.
Oh wait, here's the ADHD again. They say that Heath Ledger might be dead because he took on the Joker's view of nothing matters, just anarchy, nihilism, all that.
It's a great performance.
It's a fucking great performance.
Yeah. It's he goes, no.
It's one of the great performances. And it's interesting to see it against Jack Nicholson's because both are really perfection, but they are completely different interpretations.
Yeah.
Completely. And the Joker is more about the grotesque, and Heath Ledger is more about the philosophy, and both are important.
Well, I think it has to do with Christopher Nolan and Tim Burton, their differences. But
I think so, but I think Jack Nicholson wasn't doing, I don't know. I mean, I think his version of insanity was very different than Heath Ledger's version of insanity. And I had never considered Heath Ledger an anything actor. I just didn't see him as much of anything in any way, shape, or form.
I never knew he was that good of an actor, no.
Yeah, I knew him from A Knight's Tale and just fucking fluff shit. And I almost didn't do this movie with Kristen Stewart because I felt the same way about her. But Kate said to me, you gotta do this movie with her because she's just amazing. And I said, well, what, the girl from Twilight? And Kate said, no. She's not the girl from Twilight. She's something else, you know. And Kate hadn't seen Twilight, luckily.
Wow.
But then I did that movie, and I think it might be the worst movie I'm in, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you told me that was.
I just know that nobody has seen it, and that the people who've seen it, you know, a fair amount of them have just said like it was good, you know. And then I get a couple of Cloverfield fans who found it and they fucking love it. You know what I mean? So it's a different. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Interesting. Well,
all right. Sorry. Let's do it.
All right. So the first one is very interesting because the first Oscars had 2 Best Pictures.
Really?
Yeah, and most people don't know this. There was Outstanding Picture and Outstanding Artistic and Unique Picture. And then what they did was the following year they just made a Best Picture and combined them. So Wings won the first picture, but the best movie was actually Sunrise. And Sunrise, it's a great movie, and Sunrise actually won Outstanding, Unique, and Artistic Picture. So it's often forgotten, but it officially won Best Picture as well. So first, isn't that interesting? I never knew that. And
because in my childhood home, my father had a poster of all the Best Pictures because the third floor, it's all about movies. Because that's kind of where we would watch movies.
Right.
And so he had posters. This William Powell was up because he loves The Thin Man so much.
Yeah, my father too.
Oh my God. And so we had that Best Picture. So I always knew that Wings was the first Best Picture, but I never knew what you just told me. So that's so interesting. Wow, this is amazing.
Right?
What a shot. Wow. That must be on a jib boom. And on a dolly.
I mean, they got to move the tables out of the way.
No.
No?
I know, that's what I thought too. It's too quick. It's pretty smart. So you've got a jib boom, or almost like a crane for the camera. Right? Which they do. Paul Thomas Anderson loves it. It's a crane arm. You've got the camera here, right?
Right.
And then for this, they didn't have too much movement in terms of, again, very early on, especially during the Marx Brothers era, right?
Yeah.
Even before that, but 30s, 40s, you're really looking at like brute mechanics in terms of what they can do. Yeah. But they had a dolly track, and they could attach a camera to So what they've got is they've got the camera attached here and a dolly here, and they're moving it through. So it's above the tables. But of course, the thing that's so impressive about that is, as we should even watch the shot again, as they're going, you're having these people have to move out of the way because the cameras are fucking huge.
Yeah.
So I do think that when it comes and just when it passes, they have to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And then as it continues, let's watch it again. But when we watch again, as it continues, the choreography escalates until finally the last piece of choreography is her splashing a drink in the man's face. Yeah. Let's watch it one more time, because it really is quite a shot.
Right. Isn't that interesting, man?
I love it.
Fucking, I was fascinated by that shot because what I remembered from Wings was all the dogfight scenes, which is incredible that they shot that. I mean, that was not CGI. That was fucking people really fucking flying planes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, so it's going through, and then they kind of, he pulls the money out. That's two women. It's kind of this, angry. Boom. And so you can almost see her moving out of the way.
Yeah.
And then when we arrive here, that's the end of the dolly track. But the other thing is, pulling focus as you go.
Yeah.
So that's really impressive. I bet anything Steven Spielberg has watched that 100 times and has related it in his own films. I bet you anything.
It's a great fucking scene. It's like I was saying, the dogfight scenes were great. I was going to put one of those on there. When I saw that, I was like, oh, this is why it won. It's for scenes.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The ingenuity of that stuff,
And so early on, something like that would have been, so that makes me want to watch, what's the most innovative? Sunrise,
which I'm going to show you now. But Wings, 1927, a silent film known for winning the first Academy Award, Best Picture. Clara Bow, Charles Buddy Rogers, Richard Arlen. Rogers and Arlen portray World War I combat pilots in a romantic rivalry over a woman. It's very interesting. I never knew anything about Wings.
Yeah, neither did I. And embarrassingly, I haven't seen it. But I think what's so fascinating is that it is, it at that time, it probably was a shot like that, that sort of won them Best Picture.
And the interesting, go ahead.
No, that plus the dog fighting, it's, it would have been like, whoa, look at what they've been able to do. How, and that's what made it win. Whereas, and I, again, haven't seen the film, so I feel like it also would have been kind of, the beginning of spectacle winning, and being an important component of it. But that slowly but surely, we get to much more subdued films where the reason it wins Best Picture is because of, again, the pathos.
There is, what I've noticed now that I've done this, when I was preparing this, there's three types of Best Pictures. Giant spectacle, where there's thousands of people in World War I uniforms,
right.
or it's something really soft and something really normal, something quiet, one character. Or it's there's another type I can't remember. Well, I'll get it when we watch it. But the interesting thing was the jazz singer was not allowed to be nominated. Because
it was a talkie.
Because it was deemed unfair that it was up against all silent movies. So the jazz singer probably would have won, which would be, but it didn't. It wasn't even nominated. Wasn't allowed to be because it was the first talkie. Really,
I hate to say it, but I understand. Because at that point, and obviously with Al Jolson, it was really focused on the sound, of course. But at the time, that was a gimmick. They didn't see that as where all of this was going.
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of people, Charlie Chaplin included, said, well, you don't need sound. These are moving pictures. Yeah. Sound is for music because you can't put pictures in music.
So what Sunrise did, which is really interesting. Sunrise is really interesting movie. I have a DVD called The Story of Film, and it goes into the first cut, the first inside the house to outside the house cut. It goes into everything, and they talk about Sunrise in the movie. And I was like, what I saw blew me away. And so I found that when I realized Sunrise had basically won Best Picture, I wanted to find the scene. And it sure enough popped up because it's wonderful. And I'm going to show it to you now. It really...
Yeah, let's see it. This is great.
It really blew me away when I saw it.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, how do they do that? Wow.
It's just terrific.
It's so terrific. And so, but this wasn't, that was not a talkie.
No,
right?
what they did was they added sound to the finished thing. So they added sound effects and music to the finished product.
So again, very innovative because as they're moving through, there's obviously video, behind them.
Yeah.
So they do overlay of who knows, that might have been a miniature, that they just with a puppet sort of went through like a cardboard cutout almost.
I have no idea how they did it, but I love the idea of it. I remember once I was making out with a girl in my car.
Whoa.
But what happened was...
Hey, get serious, man.
Well, what happened was I took my foot off the brake because I was so involved in kissing that we kind of crashed. We crashed into her house. So...
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, very slowly. It was like a dent. She thought it was funny, and I thought it was funny. So what I love about that scene is that to him and to her, they're walking through a meadow because they're so in love. But really, they're walking through traffic. And they don't notice the busyness of the world, the problems of the world. And that's what being in love is like, and that's why that scene is great, to me.
I love that. I think the biggest thing about it in some ways is that it's innovative, but you just know that that feeling. You've had that feeling where, and you guys were kissing, and obviously you're a great kisser. That's all over town.
I am.
People cannot stop talking about that, and but it's sort of I don't know. There's a component of it that is just. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of everybody has even looked into someone's eyes and been transported from the hubbub and the hubbubaloo of, urban life, for lack of a better anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like by using moving pictures to describe a feeling that all of us have. Yeah. That's kind of what moving pictures were about. Yes. And so then they did it in such an innovative way.
Yeah.
And I bet you, since they were coming together to figure out what Best Picture was going to be exactly.
Yeah.
I bet you dollars to donuts that those two, it was impossible to pick between the two of them. First Academy Awards. Well, let's just make two different. Now, what we wish is, of course, that it had been, best comedy and best drama, and then we would still have that. But I think right then and there, if the next year they said, no, let's just have one film. Then it sort of sealed the fate of it being solely that the best picture.
I think so too. So the next one is Broadway Melody, 1929 American pre-code musical film, and the first sound film to win an Academy Award for Best Picture. It was one of the early musicals to feature a Technicolor sequence, which sparked the trend of color being used in a flurry of musicals that would hit the screens in 29 and 30. Today, the Technicolor sequence survives only in black and white. The film was the first musical released by MGM and was Hollywood's first all-talking musical.
Wow.
So that's why this movie won.
So right away, I mean, even Sunrise shows right away, they realized that people wanted sound to accompany the picture.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So I think that's why this movie won, because I really don't think it's that special.
Found on Broadway, your troubles there are out of style. For Broadway, your Mayfair to smile. A million lights, they flicker there. A million hearts beat quicker there. No skies, they got the great byway. That's the Broadway melody. Hot dog.
I don't think there's anything special about it, except for the fact it was the first talking musical, besides Jazz Singer.
Also, that's unfair to Jazz Singer, and all those people must have been like, "What the fuck?" The Jazz Singer is a better movie, probably. But I think what's interesting about that is that it also does feel like it was capturing, because what was that Best Picture? What year?
1930, 29, then 1 and 30.
Yeah, I thought it was 27 for some reason. But yeah, it's now it's kind of like, is the Best Picture the picture to use technology in the best way, right? And so now you're at the precipice of kind of film changing. And then what it did look like is that they had captured the sentiment, or not even the sentiment, but they had captured the
what it's like to write to put on a Broadway show.
Yeah, exactly. And
one scene I almost put on was a chorus girl's scene was cut, and another chorus girl was reveling in her enemy's scene being cut, and they argue. And I thought that was a good scene too. Like, oh, what a shame your scene was cut. It's like they were showing more what it was like behind the scenes when people didn't know anything like that at that time.
And it looks like a great representation of the era,
Yeah.
I think that's important too.
Yeah.
But that might have been great acting, great songs, great acting, great sort of, backstage, and then great musical numbers but you're right. I mean, to take a Broadway musical and express it in film, probably for one of the first times, that's, this early on, a lot of it had to be novelty.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Jazz Singers win because these other ones we're showing, it's about the novelty and the innovation. And Jazz Singer at that point, they thought the sound was a gimmick.
Yeah.
A gimmick doesn't win Best Picture.
But they love, the Oscars love spectacle or fucking period pieces or musicals. They love musicals.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they'll usually. All right, let's keep going. There's not much to say about that one, Now, this one was one of my father's favorite movies.
Yeah, of course. Same with my father.
And I knew my father would hate that they made a remake of it. But I love the remake. But here's the scene I'll show you the scene first.
I love the remake. I thought that could have been Best Picture for sure.
It's good.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, because you even feel both of us kind of being like,
Yeah. And
wow.
what's interesting about that is that scene with the butterfly is not in the book and not in the new remake.
No,
So
it is not in the new
they
remake.
just added that scene. And that was the scene my father showed me when I was a kid. And as a kid, I didn't appreciate it. But that's basically what it was these innocent kids that were convinced to sign up for the war, and they were all killed. And so there's just an innocent kid want to play with a butterfly, gets killed. And those shots of all the boys on the back are all of his friends who die in the movie. And I agree with you, All Quiet on the Western Front, the remake, I think that was the harshest war movie, the most realistic war movie I've ever seen in my life. It just keeps getting worse. When the guy gets run over by a tank, and he screams as the tank runs over him. That was rough.
It was rough. I mean, Saving Private Ryan is pretty up there.
The first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, for God's sakes, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, the entirety of All Quiet on the Western Front is just so fucking...
It's rough.
It's really, when the two of them fight and the kid wins, and then he's trying to give the guy water because they both either wanted to kill each other.
Yeah.
Just in this situation where it's kill or be killed.
Yeah.
And if they were able to, they would have just not done any of that. But I think that
he's stabbing that guy. It's like stabbing somebody. It's not like in movies where it's like, and it's over. He's stabbing that guy, and the guy's dying for fucking 15 minutes. And he's there with him hiding in a hole while the guy's dying. That's war. Well, that's war.
That is war. And I will say, it's telling that you know what it's like to stab a person in real life. But no, I think speaking of Best Picture, I thought it was unfair for All Quiet on the Western Front to be nominated for both Best Foreign Film and Best Picture. And I just think you can't cross that line because even though, maybe it deserved to be the Best Picture, I just think that give somebody else the nomination because that's important for your film in terms of its business. You know, so give the Oscar nominated, whatever it was that didn't get nominated. Yeah. And I think that that's just really unfair in terms of the business of Hollywood.
Yeah. I like what the BAFTAs do. They do Best Foreign Language Picture instead of Best Foreign Picture. I think Best Foreign Language is better, personally. But
I mean, I could see that. I think either way, you can't get both. And if it's a fucking movie in German, then don't. Your
father liked this movie, the original?
Yes, loved it.
Mine too.
That and On the Waterfront.
Yeah,
those were two movies that he.
Yeah, this was a big movie for my father. My mother loves the book, and it's like I haven't watched the original in a long time, so I don't want to comment too much on it. But I did love the remake, and I always loved the butterfly scene. It always stuck with me as a kid. So they were very smart because in the book it doesn't say how he dies, and in the it just says all of a sudden he's dead. So they had license to come up with that scene, and I think it was a really good added scene. Anyway,
I think that's right.
Now this movie looks horrible.
I'm going with him.
Oh, that's it, honey. Now, we've had enough of this. Wichita, we're going out to a brand new two-fisted rip-snorting country full of Indians, rattlesnakes, gun-toters, and desperados. Whoopee!
I died, you miserable brat, you fool boy!
Marcy, take me with you, don't kill me. Please take me, Marcy.
You ain't going to no open homely. You're going to take a bath. That's what you're going to know without you never make it out.
We're going out to a brand new two-fisted rip-snorting.
Oh my God!
Indians, rattlesnakes, gun-toters, and desperados.
What is this buckwheat?
That's CIMARRON.
Does not hold up nowadays, but I'm actually a fan of kind of looking at things in historical context. And just from seeing that scene, it looks to me like it was an over dramatic sort of tale of the South.
Period piece, yeah.
Yeah, it's a period piece, and that's what was going on then. So, you have to look at it like that instead of saying, oh, those racist fuck. Come on, man.
Cimarron is a 1931 pre-code epic Western film directed by Wesley Ruggles, starring Richard Dix, Irene Dunn, featuring Esther Taylor, Roscoe Addis. The Oscar-winning script was written by Howard Eastbrook, based on 1930 Edna Ferber novel Cimarron. It would be RKO's most expensive production up to that date, and its winning of the top Oscar for Outstanding Production would be one of only 2 for Outstanding Production ever won by that studio. It is also the first of only 3 Westerns to ever win the top honor of the Academy Awards, the other being Dances with Wolves and Unforgiven. Epic in scope, spanning 40 years from 1889 to 1929, it was a critical success, although it did not recoup its production costs during the initial run in 1991. Interesting. So that's that movie.
Yeah, RKO, this kid who taken over RKO was became the property of some woman who was I think, widow of, someone who originally was, owned the studio. And they were trying to kind of revive it when I went to Sundance years ago. And it's really interesting because that was such a powerhouse studio back in the day. But this is just making me think about how so many films are based on books, not original ideas. Speaking of
RKO, I was watching a documentary on Gone with the Wind, and during the fire scene, they burned down the King Kong sets. So the fire in Gone with the Wind is the King Kong sets from RKO on fire.
Really?
Yeah, you can see the gates.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, Cimarron, Gone with the Wind, there came a time when this was really important, those period pictures, of what was going on during that period.
Now, do you need to smoke a cigarette? You smoke indoors or smoke outdoors?
I don't smoke at all, but I want to, when you're smoking, it makes me want to smoke. So the next time we do this, I'm going to...
Your girl's going to love me.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, okay, cool.
Let's keep going.
I've often wondered what had happened to that old porter if somebody jumped on him from here.
I'm sure I don't know. Why don't you try it and find out?
Thanks very much.
Not at all?
Don't you like dancing?
No, not with strangers.
Never?
Never?
Thanks very much.
Not at all?
I say.
Are you back again?
He must be an awful nice fellow.
Who?
Whoever's keeping you waiting.
Oh. Have you seen it?
Seen what?
Yes.
Oh, you don't mean 166?
Mm-hmm.
That fat, bulbous neighbor of mine, Mr.
Priving.
Oh, not you.
Oh, no. Work.
Does he sing?
I hope not.
Was you playing something?
Yes, the typewriter.
Oh, you're a little stenographer.
Yes, I'm a little stenographer.
That's fascinating. I don't suppose you'd take some dictation from me sometime, would you? I don't suppose you'd take some dictation from me sometime, would you?
Whoa. I love it.
Now I guess that's Drew Barrymore's grandfather, John Barrymore.
Wow, that makes sense 100 times over. That is so great, man.
So so Grand Hotel is 1932 American pre-code drama film directed by Edmund Goulding, by MGM, about 1930, based on a 1930 play by the same title, who adapted it from 1920 novel, whatever. But it's I guess it's a comedy, romantic comedy.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I like the dictation line. It's pretty crazy for early 30s.
Pretty racy for the 30s, right? Exactly. But she was great too, kind of making fun of him for saying a little stenographist.
Yeah.
I love the joke about, does he sing? I hope. Yeah, you're right. The dialogue's great. But if you look at it, it's let me make sure. I'm almost positive. But it's this was the first version of a grand ensemble, which is when you have just it should be called a cavalcade of
Joan Crawford, John Barrymore, Greta Garbo, Wallace Beery, Lionel Barrymore. So you got 2 Barrymores in it, and Greta Garbo.
Barrymore.
Greta Garbo. This is a famous scene where I want to be alone. It's from this movie. I want to be alone. I want to be alone. That's from this movie.
Really? Yeah.
Bugs Bunny. Well, Lionel Barrymore and John Barrymore, I couldn't even. Those weren't my guys because they were a little before my time. My father didn't show me many of their movies, so I don't even know if that was Lionel Barrymore or John Barrymore. He looked more like Lionel to me.
Yeah, I get the Lionel vibes. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that era was before our parents' time.
Well, my father showed me the Marx Brothers, which was during this time. So
yeah, but it was late 30s, I think.
No, Marx Brothers were one of the first talkies ever. It was Coconuts.
Animal Crackers.
Coconuts was the first Marx Brothers movie, and that was basically they couldn't do anything but point a camera at that point.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah, this was 30. Even Animal Crackers was 1930.
Yeah, Animal Crackers is a slightly better production than Coconuts for its camera work wise. But their first 2 movies is just point the camera, because that's all they knew how to do back then. And the cameras would be fixated on the ground, and the sound would reverberate on the walls. It was, it was a hard movies. They shot those in Astoria. But so my father would show me the 30s comedies, but Grand Hotel was probably the dictation line. My father probably thought that was too risque.
I love that.
There is a line in Animal Crackers that's very risque. Groucho Marx gets on one knee to Margaret Dumont, and he wipes off his knee, and he goes, "I'm sure you've been affected by this," meaning get on your knees and blowjob. He does a blowjob joke to Margaret Dumont, which is crazy. And she goes, "No." She goes, "No." He goes, "Well, you will."
Yeah, you will. Well, you will.
What you gonna suck my dick is what he says. He goes, "It's crazy. It's crazy." Anyway, all right, let's keep going.
I love that though.
This movie is a period piece that clearly won because it's a period piece. And a spectacle. But after this movie, we get into the movies that me and you probably know better. So let's take care of this one. They will say, they on the list of movies that are no longer great best pictures, this is like number 1.
That's hilarious.
That's pretty big scope.
Wow. What is this? They're coming back from war?
Yeah. It's just a big spectacle. I think what the movie is it's a couple throughout history. And at the end, the last scene is they're old people on a patio on New Year's Eve. And they're remembering things. So clearly the movie is a period piece and a big spectacle. So that's why it won. But really, it's not a remembered movie.
Did you watch it?
No, I did not.
Absolutely not.
Well, it didn't interest me.
I don't think it doesn't interest me.
1933 American epic pre-code drama film directed by Frank Lloyd. Is based in 1931 play of the same title by Noel Coward. So it's a Noel Coward play.
Interesting. I wonder if it's particularly funny.
I don't think so. It just seems
It didn't look hilarious. Yeah, it might have just been the production value was out of control, you know?
Well, those look like fucking thousands of extras.
Yeah, seriously.
And the thing that we don't appreciate is how crazy World War I and World War II was. For like when we have a war now, we send our guys, we watch it on TV, and it's all planes and bombs. These were people hand-to-hand combat. Half the people didn't come back, more than half. And so what would happen if we lost? It's like, so to have people come home and have the giant celebration, we haven't had anything like that in our lifetime.
No, certainly not. And we won't.
Yeah, well, hopefully not.
Yeah.
But it's just, I guess that's a little more emotional for people back then. You know, I just know that Hershey's chocolate took off after World War I.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were giving them chocolate overseas. So when they came home, they wanted chocolate. That's what I know about World War I.
That's all you need to know. That and All Quiet on the Western Front was a gritty, real war picture.
Okay. So this is the first comedy to win.
You think it's simple, huh?
No.
Well, it is simple. It's all that old thumb, see? Yeah. Now, some people do it like this. Or like this. All wrong. Never get anywhere.
Oh, the poor thing.
Yeah, boy, but that old thumb never fails. It's all a matter of how you do it, though. You know, now, you take number one, for instance. That's a short, jerky movement like this. That shows independence. You don't care whether they stop or not. You got money in your pocket, see?
Clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but number two, that's a little wider movement. Smile goes with this one like this. That means you got a brand new story about the farmer's daughter.
You figured that out all by yourself.
Nah, that's nothing. Yeah, number three, that's a pip. Yeah, that's the pitiful one. You know, when you're broke and hungry and everything looks black. That's a long, sweeping movement like this. Gotta follow through, though.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, but it's no good, though, if you haven't got a long face to go with it.
Here comes the car.
Okay, now watch me. I'm going to use number one. Keep your eye on that thumb, baby, and see what happens.
I stood up my eye on the thumb.
Something must have gone wrong. Oh. Try number two.
Well, when you get to 100, wake me up.
I don't think I'll write that book after all.
Yeah, think of all the fun you had, though. Do you mind if I try?
You? Don't make me laugh.
Oh, you're such a smart Alec. Nobody knows anything but you. I'll stop a car, and I won't use my thumb.
What are you going to do?
It's a system all my own.
Yeah. That's so good. It's perfect, and that's where that move of pulling up and showing some leg to get to go hitchhiking came from.
But that was the first comedy to win, and also now even though Bugs Bunny was based on Groucho Marx, they also based his delivery on that scene. because he's eating the carrot and talking. Nah, you gotta do like this, right? That's Bugs Bunny. They base Bugs Bunny on that scene.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, what's up, Doc? Yeah, that's great, man.
It's so that's it's very interesting. So that's a Frank Capra movie. Frank Capra was the darling of the Oscars. Pampered socialite Claudette Colbert tries to get out from under her father's thumb and falls in love with a roguish reporter, Clark Gable. But it's I thought that scene was great. That's a very popular scene.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm interested to watch the movie because why, based on that scene, why would that film have won Best Picture? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, it's probably much more to it, but that's the scene in the movie. Like if there's I remember that scene from when I was a kid, and I never saw that movie. They just showed that scene a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's funny how a leg would do that. Now,
in that era.
Wow, you literally got to spread the pussy lips open.
I think if you showed your vagina and if you showed everything all at once, people would be like, I seen it. I saw it just a couple miles back.
You literally have to eat. So you eat my ass. Ugh. I understand people who eat ass. Shit comes out of there.
You got to clean everything before you do it. I mean, you're talking about the vagina. That's blood and urine comes out of there.
No thanks. Eat blood and urine. I'd rather eat blood than shit.
I think, yeah, of course.
I mean, there's no vampire that eats shit. You know what I mean?
No, those are just mummies.
It's interesting how they won't give a Best Picture twice. Like, All Quiet on the Western Front didn't win twice. And this movie, Mutiny and Bounty, didn't win twice because they did it again with fucking Marlon Brando.
The liberty of telling the surgeon to remain below, sir. He's really not able to report.
I'll have no drunken relic holding up the discipline aboard my ship. What's more, Mr. Byam, bring him on deck immediately, or I'll take the liberty of having you seized up and flogged.
Mr. Byam doesn't want to disobey your orders. But I beg you, don't make that old man come on deck. He can't even walk. If you don't believe me, go below and see for yourself.
Are you presuming to give me orders?
Reporting on deck for duty, sir.
Mr. Morrison, do your duty. 4 dozen, I believe.
4 dozen it is, sir.
Nothing lost, Mr. Christian.
Did you expect, Mr. Bly? The man's dead. I call this ship's company to bear witness. You killed him!
Silence. Ship's company dismissed. Bosun, punishment postponed 24 hours.
Aye, aye.
Do you hear me? Ship's company dismissed! Bear a hand, take him below.
What I love about that is Charles Lawton, who was the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes. And he was in Steven Spielberg, one of Steven Spielberg's favorite films, which was Witness for the Prosecution. Another film that I love.
I don't know. So Charles Lawton he's such a control freak that he makes the sick guy come up to watch the flogging. The sick guy dies. And he's already been pissing everybody off. So they take out the knives to kill him. And he sees it. And he just walks right up to him. And he stands there. In other words, you're not going to kill me. I'm not scared. You're not going to kill me. And he stands there. He sees the two guys bring up the knives. And he walks up between them and just stares at them. And he calls their bluff. And that's how he kept remaining in power, which I think is fantastic, all without words. Nowadays, you'd be like, "What are you gonna do? You gonna stab me?" You know what I mean? If it was Denzel Washington or Tarantino, it was just, or Kevin Hart. It was just,
and that was an era where they were much more adept at using silence because they still had the influence of silent film.
Yeah, exactly.
They still had learned from that era, but had yet to really overuse words. And so, yeah, I think. But now I want to go watch that one for sure.
Yeah, me too. I love Charles Lawn. I thought he was great in Hunchback of Notre Dame.
You've got to watch Witness for the Prosecution. That's sort of some homework that you're going to love doing.
Anybody who's less attractive than me, who was a lead for years, I really support. You know what I mean?
I don't think that he was less attractive than you.
Thank you.
Look, you're a handsome man, and you won't eat ass. What more do you want than that?
I will not eat ass. I will not
have your boundaries. You have your boundaries, and you're a good-looking guy.
I'm just fat. If I lose the fat, I'd be pretty hot. But even when I was hot, nobody wanted to fuck me. They just wanted without money. Fuck. Let's not get into it. Charles Lawton and another Clark Gable movie. It's interesting how you look at time and go, "Oh, that was the Tom Hanks of their time."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Doing a comedy, then doing a drama, back to back, and they both win Best Picture.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, you go do what you got to do, and
thank you. Yeah, we're looking to do this next Wednesday and on Wednesdays, and I'm just so excited. This is good too, though, because we don't want to rush through this.
No.
It doesn't matter if it's 20 episodes. I think it's going to be good.
I did want to brush through the early ones that we don't know, so I feel.
Yeah, but we've got a lot to say about them. You know?
It's at least the scenes. I really loved that scene.
I love it.
I've only seen the Marlon Brando one, but the other scenes I watched in the movie were very interesting. How he wanted Clark Gable to fudge the records. He goes, I won't do that. He's like, the meat is unacceptable. The vegetables are rotten. The meat is poison, and I'm not going to write down. I'm not going to say that it was. And he just kept plummeting through, and people were dying because of him. So it's really interesting, and how difficult it must be to pull off a mutiny. To get everybody on board. How you could literally be killed if nobody else is on your side. So
right, exactly. Yeah, the captain can order executions, and we just don't even really think of it that way.
No,
pretty amazing.
We just get fired.
Right, exactly. That's all that is.
Listen, buddy, thank you for doing this. Hope you had fun.
It was great, and there's more to come. I'm so excited.
And the other episodes will have movies that we know more. So, but I also wanted to introduce people to these movies because they're interesting. Sunrise.
Really interesting. And I want to watch Mutiny on the Bounty and It Happened One Night. Everybody should have seen all of these.
Yeah.
If you love film, I'm almost ashamed of the fact that I haven't seen every single one. I mean, it takes, 100 hours or something. It's just not that big of a deal. A few days. Yeah.
You have time. You are constantly on the road. Constantly.
Yeah, but I got to be using that road time as, something special.
Well, you're creating projects. Listen, man, it was great to see you. And
great to see you, man.
Next Wednesday?
I will see you next Wednesday.
Same time?
Like this.
Okay.
With Brian Scalaro and TJ Miller, the Best Picture podcast.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.